Imagine just, well, living your life. Completely ordinary. And then suddenly you're facing this absolute nightmare, something out of the darkest stories.
And in that terror, you find something inside you, something huge.
Exactly, a power you never knew existed. You escape death, but then you're thrown into this whole other world. Gilded cages, secrets everywhere. Maybe the real danger isn't the monsters you just faced.
That kind of sudden flip, it's powerful storytelling. It forces a character and you as the reader to really grapple with who they are, what they can do.
Absolutely. And that's what we're getting into today, looking closely at the book Shadow and Bone. It really follows this journey of someone, seemingly average, whose world just explodes when this hidden power surfaces.
Yeah, and how that revelation just changes everything, their whole path.
It really does. Now, exploring a story like this with all its twists and difficult choices, it naturally gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Definitely. You start asking questions. What does that kind of power actually cost? How would you handle it?
And because we think that kind of deeper reflection is so valuable when you're engaging with stories, we wanted to mention Mindful Moments. That's our YouTube channel.
Right.
It uses AI to help analyze books, digging into themes, characters.
Yeah.
It's a great way to keep thinking critically about what you read, even after you finish the book.
It's a really neat resource. Okay, so Alina, where does her story begin?
It starts at Karamzin, an orphanage. Her whole early life is really tied to Mal, another orphan there. They're incredibly close. You get that shared background.
But the book makes it clear that even that bond, it changes over time. It's not static.
And there's that specific memory they share from childhood, being called witches, shutting that scary book.
Yeah, that feels significant. More than just a kid being scared. It's like a hint of something hidden, something they both learned to suppress very early on. It plants that seed, doesn't it? The extraordinary hiding under the surface.
It really does. And that hidden part bursts out during that crossing of the shadow fold. The book does a great job painting how terrifying that is. The darkness, the monsters, the Volcra.
Even with Grisha protection, the fire wielders, the heartrenders sensing heartbeats, it still feels like they're barely holding back the dread.
And Mel, he's acting almost... the book calls it jaunty, like he's deliberately putting on a brave face.
While Alina's just consumed by anxiety, remembering past horrors, it shows how differently they cope, maybe how they've grown apart a bit already.
And the Volcra attack, chaos, terror, and right at the peak of it, Alina's power just erupts.
Yeah, described as this brilliant, overwhelming light. Not just a flicker, but a shockwave.
And that's the moment everything changes for her.
Instantly.
She goes from being nobody, a mapmaker's assistant, to...
the Sun Summoner. A figure of legend, suddenly real. Her status just flips completely. And she's immediately taken by the Grisha, straight to the Darkling.
Tells you everything about power in this world, doesn't it?
It really does. So she arrives in As-Alta, the capital, and it's this collision of worlds. The little palace, so opulent, but you see the poverty right outside the city walls.
That contrast is stark. The shining city, the suffering just beyond view, a world built on layers of inequality.
And the palace itself, designed to overwhelm. Those amazing carved doors, inlaid with mother of pearl, like on the book cover. And inside, the huge, golden-domed hall, it screams power, wealth.
Definitely meant to make someone like Alina feel small out of her depth.
And then she starts meeting the people inside. Genya, the tailor, her power is fascinating, manipulating appearance, actual flesh and bone, not just fabric.
Right, and you immediately sense her complicated position at court, especially with the queen. Then there are others, Ivan, Fedor, sort of Grisha soldiers, Botkin, the combat trainer.
And a whole social scene among the Grisha. They're described as beautiful, powerful, wearing those distinct keftas. The colors signify their order, right?
Yeah, corporalki in crimson, materialki in purple, and serialki in blue, manipulating bodies, materials, elements.
And Alina's just there, in plain clothes, feeling like she doesn't belong at all among these elegant, powerful figures. She doesn't fit any category.
She even meets the king and queen. There's that moment the queen makes a dig at Genya, really showing the undercurrents of court politics.
And then the Darkling gives her the black kefta.
Which is huge. Not just clothes, it's a statement.
Absolutely. Black is his color, reserved for his inner circle, the most unique Grisha. He's marking her as his, separating her from the other orders right away. A power move.
But even with the title Sun Summoner and the special kefta, Alina, well, she struggles. Massively.
She can't actually summon the light reliably. That huge burst in the fold, she can't replicate it on command.
And her training with Bagra sounds intense.
Oh, brutal. Bagra is ancient, powerful, and just
Yeah.
harsh. She pushes Alina constantly, convinced she's holding back, maybe out of fear, maybe resisting this new life.
It's psychological warfare almost, as much as magic training.
Yeah. And then there's the social side. Zoya, the squaller, she hates Alina on sight. Pure envy and hostility.
Sees her as a rival, maybe? Especially for the Darkling's attention.
Probably. And the other Grisha, they define themselves by their power. When Alina can't perform, they whisper, they exclude her. She's surrounded by luxury, but feels utterly alone.
More alone than ever, probably.
And then the apparat shows up, the king's advisor.
Oh, right. Adding another layer of pressure.
Exactly. He starts talking about saints, prophecies, framing Alina not just as powerful, but as, a religious figure, a savior for Ravka.
Imagine that burden, being told you're the answer to everyone's prayers when you can barely light up a room.
It's immense, and through all this, her thoughts keep going back to Mal.
She misses that connection, that simpler time. And then his letters stop coming. She gets really worried.
And Genya tries to help, using her position to find out what happened to him, even checking casualty reports. It shows their friendship is becoming something real, a support system for Alina.
Yeah, Genya becomes crucial. She gives Alina insights into palace life, shares bits about herself, like that detail about David the fabricator and iron ore.
Shows her own perspective,
Yeah.
And she's fiercely loyal. She stands up to Zoya for Alina, helps her navigate.
But even with Genya, Alina still feels lost. Like she doesn't belong anywhere. Not Karamzin anymore, not the army, maybe not even with Mal in the same way, and certainly not among these powerful Grisha.
It's that core identity struggle, isn't it? Where do you fit when everything you knew is gone?
Then the story brings in this legend, Morazova's stag. The Darkling tells her it could be an amplifier for her power.
Right, introducing this idea of living amplifiers, creatures whose bodies, bones can enhance Grisha power. It's kind of creepy, actually, using bone and teeth.
Definitely unsettling. It connects power to sacrifice, maybe violation, hints at darker things.
But the real bombshell comes from Bagra.
Oh man, yeah, that scene.
She corners Alina, completely terrified, and just drops the truth. She's the Darkling's mother.
Mind-blowing.
And she warns Alina that he's lying. His goal isn't saving Ravka, it's enslaving her, using her power to control everything. Destroy Ravka, in a way.
Bagra says he wants to use the fold, expand it even. Plunge the world into darkness under his control, using Alina like a battery.
It's horrifying, and Bagra, his own mother, is desperate for Alina to escape. She gives her a plan.
So Alina runs, hides in a wagon with performers. There's that tense moment outside a tavern.
Right, where she uses her little mirror, that childhood keepsake, to blind someone threatening her.
Yeah.
A small, clever use of light. Instinctive.
And that escape leads her right to Mal.
An unexpected reunion. He's changed too, hardened by tracking. Their conversation is tough, awkward, all that distance, the missed letters.
Yeah, the unspoken things hanging between them, how much they've both been altered by everything.
But then Mal just lays it bare, tells her he missed her constantly, risked everything, walked across half the country to find her, that he finally sees her again.
And they kiss. That moment on the mountainside, it feels like grabbing onto something real amidst the chaos.
But it doesn't last. The Darkling finds them.
Of course he does. The confrontation is quick, brutal. Mal tries to fight, but...
Yeah, the Darkling's power is just overwhelming. Shows the massive gap between them.
And then the Darkling does something truly awful. He has the stag kill.
Yeah.
Right there.
In front of them. And calls David, the fabricator, to make the antlers into an amplifier for Alina. It's violating something sacred, twisting it into a tool, just like his plan for her.
And to make sure she complies.
He threatens Mal, says he'll torture him if Alina resists. It's the ultimate manipulation, using her love for Mal to control her power.
Puts her in an impossible spot.
Yeah.
Ethically, emotionally.
Yeah. So the final scenes, crossing the fold again, but this time under his control. The amplifier is physically attached to her.
And she's forced to unleash that amplified power, cutting a path of light through the darkness.
It's during this crossing book hints at the Darkling's true nature. Something ancient, empty, like a void between the stars. More than just a powerful Grisha.
Faced with that, his cruelty, his intent to use her for darkness, Alina makes a choice.
An agonizing one. To break free, she cuts off the light.
Deliberately. Which means leaving him and others on that boat to the Volcra. In the fold.
It's a terrible sacrifice. Choosing her freedom, Mel's safety, over saving everyone there, maybe accepting a piece of darkness herself to survive, becoming a bit like him in that brutal calculus.
The book ends with them escaping, called Fentiman Ghosts on a Ship. cut off from everything, their future totally uncertain.
Wow. Yeah, the journey, those impossible choices, the moral complexity.
Hmm.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? It's why exploring stories like this is so worthwhile. It's not just plot, it's understanding pressure, power, survival.
It helps you understand the fictional world, but also maybe something about our own world and ourselves.
Exactly. And that's really what we try to do here in our podcast. We want to help guide those explorations. And like we said, tools like Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel exist to help you keep digging deeper on your own time.
Right, giving you ways to analyze themes and connect ideas after the conversation here ends.
So, thinking about Alina's path, it leaves you with a heavy question, I think. When you're backed into a corner, facing only bad options, does the end ever justify truly terrible means?
Or do the choices you make, especially the hard ones, fundamentally change who you are no matter why you made them?
That's something to chew on.
Definitely. If this discussion about Shadow and Bone caught your interest, please subscribe to the podcast so you catch our future deep dives.
And maybe share this episode with a friend who loves getting into the nuts and bolts of a good story.
If you haven't read the book and want to, check the show notes. There's a link to purchase it there.
And most importantly, keep thinking critically about the stories you read, the shows you watch, and the world we live in.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.